All right, cool. We're working now.
Are we?
Yep,
You sure about that?
yep. So yep, we got messages that were fixed. All right, guys. So I'm gonna restart. This is Joe. You got a lot of you guys probably know him, Joe Shuttle. He's in the Team Wash Life group. He's been a washer for 20 years, 21 years, and he was just going into telling us about how he started and how he became. He always had the entrepreneur heart, and basically since high school. So go ahead, Joe. Start that over again for us.
All right, I'll start over. I don't know if anyone heard any of it, so I'll just start over and I'll add some more stuff in that I had left out the first time, so the second time might be better. But yeah. So in high school, I started entrepreneurship in high school and had people working for me while I was in school. I had contracts with the two Forest Service divisions to wash their vehicles, and 300-acre hay farm, 86-acre vineyard. I was a hustler in high school, so I set up contracts and did that. After that, all through high school, people are telling you, you should have a job or go to college or whatever. And I never felt like college was my way. I wasn't interested in being told what to learn. Um, I always learned really well for stuff that I wanted to learn. So anyway, in high school, I started entrepreneurship, and then came out of high school, and I was like, well, I'm supposed to get a job. So I, you know, worked my way up quick through some companies, and I knew that wasn't for me. So I went back to sole proprietorship and building some boats um, and repairing boats. And the hot sun in Florida with the fiberglass, I was done with that. So people would ask me, "Hey, you know anyone that does this, or you know anyone that does that?" And I just started saying yes to everything I could say yes to,
Right.
and formed a company. It was just a sole proprietorship called Joe Shuttle Services, and I built that to 100,000 a year pretty quickly, and then transferred into services on site. Then went services on site Inc. Stepped up as that went. And at the height of that, Services on Site Inc. Was pulling in $70,000 to $80,000 a month. So I built it up. I had people working around the clock. I was riding my desk, and it was stressful, and I was miserable. The turnover of people, the lack of work ethic in people and stuff like that was a. I've thrown phones through my drywall dealing with workers. Um, I was miserable, absolutely miserable, losing lots of money, um, and down to the simple things of having, four workers in a vehicle headed to a job site that took half hour to get there, and they were taking the longest way possible, and stopping at every single stoplight. They were taking the long way, so that was adding up and causing losses. So even though I was pulling big numbers monthly, the profit margin wasn't that fantastic. So when I, through a series of events, uh, was able to, luckily, that company died, and we went with strictly washing, and I kept a couple other interior commercial cleaning services that we were doing. Anyway, so the when that company died and we started doing less, became operator, because I love washing. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I love this shit. I really do. It's in me. I can't get rid of it. I'm thinking about it all the time. Um, but anyway, I found great joy in being an owner operator, and became more profitable. and for less effort, which was huge. Less stress, less effort, and I'm able to take the profitability from doing less and do more with it because I don't have the losses that I had when I had, crews around the clock doing things everywhere. So that's pretty much how I got to where I am now. I don't I don't really push like a high marketing campaign. Um, I've had slow growth intentionally. I learned that unplanned growth is actually harder to deal with than a dying company. It really is. You'll have a lot more and so yeah, got a big group of people walking by. Um, so yeah. So anyway, that's where I am. I do have an exit plan down the line. I'm like the dog years of the labor. It is a labor intensive trade that we have, and back in the day, before soft washing, it was even more labor intensive.
I could only imagine. I've done it before, so I know.
It was horrible. It was horrible back then. We were the guys on the roof with the surface scrubbers and the turbo tips and the this and that. And I still actually get requests from time to time from some clients that are like, we don't want any chemical, and I'm like, yeah, we'll do it, but it's not going to be easy, cheap. It's not going to be cheap for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, back in the day, it was difficult. But I actually under that Joe Shuttle Services, my very first job. I had a guy that I was doing some work for that asked me if I could clean some penthouse condo units that they fired like 2 or 3 construction cleaning companies to fix, and then so they asked me to clean them up, and I was like, sure, I could do that, and it had these penthouse rooftop nice patios that the contractors just trashed. It had stuff all over, and I was looking at them like, I guess I have to get a pressure washer. So I bought a $168 electric Karcher pressure washer, got it up on the rooftop, and stupid looking back, but I went through probably 10 to 15 gallons of goof off up there. It was a ridiculous project, but I made a lot for what I had in, and it did take me longer than it would today, but so I basically made a profit of $3,000 off that $168 electric Karcher. And at the end of that project, I threw that thing in the dumpster with a big smile on my face. I was like, this is disposable.
Right.
So I have kind of a minimalist mindset where, a lot of things are disposable to me that aren't normally disposable to other people. But, so anyway, that's the story leading up to where I am today. And then today, under this company, we have, I have a very nice base. I don't advertise like other people do. I don't even have a company. I own one. It's not published. I've owned it for a very long time. I've owned a couple of them, but never used them. But I don't even have a website. I don't have a Google presence at all. It's like I was at the huge convention like 2 years ago, and the guy remembered me last year too. And he pulled me up. He's like, "You don't even exist." I'm like, oh.
The ghost.
I'm okay with that. So I get a lot of work based on the length of time that I've been around and word of mouth, and I'm not looking to be gaining every house in the county. That's not my plan.
No, I like that. I respect that, man, because well, there's a bunch of things you just said that is like completely awesome. Just the fact that you went from putting these huge numbers up and it's almost like it's not worth it. You could have 10 trucks and making millions a year, but at the end of the day, it's what's going into your pocket. And now with the just being you, and I've seen your videos, you have like a couple workers, maybe one or two, maybe more, I don't know, but that's what I've seen. But you're
I
making,
keep it lean.
yeah, so you're making more money doing it that way, and you're not stressed out. So and that's something I'm realizing. This is my third year into it, and I'm like at first I was like, man, I see those big guys. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing against that, and maybe eventually I'll get there. But like you said, you're doing it. You want to just go slow because you don't want to get too overwhelmed where you get burnt out and quit the whole thing entirely. If you do it
Yeah,
slow, you'll be able to have money and for other things, other avenues.
yeah. Just focus on being highly profitable for what you're doing. Um, just being a bigger company does not necessarily mean you're more successful.
Right.
Success is going to be measured in retainment, um, and a couple other things. But yeah, so I was miserable. I mean, I had money freaking flying at me that was ridiculous, and I was absolutely miserable. I had to carry multiple phones, and I had properties that I was managing that they wanted me to have my own phone direct for them, and yeah, so I was not happy. I remember sitting at my desk and just thinking, if I could only go to the woods and not have a phone for 5 days, I would probably be like ecstatically happy. And so I remember under that company and working so much, I remember just thinking, why? Why am I doing this to myself? You know, um, Basically why. And I started where I was like, okay, from here on out, I'm going to take every Friday off. Every Friday is going to be off. So I did the steps I needed to get that one day out of the week. That was for me. And after a little while of doing that, I was like, oh, this is pretty nice. I need another day. So then Mondays became the day. And then I was like, oh well, if we jam for these days, I could actually end up with a week off. So I've through the years, played with different schedules where I've booked really hard for a couple weeks, 3 weeks, jam, and then take a week off, and then I actually got to where I could jam 2 weeks and take 2 weeks off, and still have the same income from the whole month. Um, so I played with that, and sometimes I'll go on a run and just build up, and then I'll kind of taper back a little and enjoy life. Travel. I love going to Cuba. I've been to Cuba a lot. Not that I'm socialist, but I like the untouched island. Um, and then I go to Bimini and do some shark. I swim with sharks. I just love sharks. So I do a lot of scuba diving with sharks whenever I get the chance. And then lobster season's coming, which Mike, I'm hoping we could get out in the water.
Yeah, man, I'm definitely down for that. That's you just pretty much you got to just dive down, right? You hold your breath, dive down, and just grab as many as you can, right? That's how it works.
Kind of. There's a place down in Lauderdale that is probably closer to you than I am here. But I go down there. I got a little honey hole down there that I go to.
I'm definitely
And
down.
yeah, you'll be able to do it from there.
That's awesome. But yeah, man, like again, that's back to you kind of just built your business to be that way. I mean, if you're so tied up and busy and miserable, you want to be able to do things like that you're doing now, and that's another thing we got to take into consideration is our mental health. I was talking to a buddy of mine um, yesterday, and I'm not gonna say his name, but he's getting burnt out, and he's making a lot of money. He's doing very well, and
Yep.
he's just you can tell he's getting burnt out. But and that's the thing. It's like, you got to find that balance, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just you don't want
You
to
got to
move.
find what works for you. I mean,
Right.
at the height of my busyness, which I don't ever want to get back to that stage ever. I have no desire whatsoever to get there. I couldn't even have dinner with family. I without phones ringing, without
Right.
problems, without this or without. I mean, just you name it. A worker calling me to tell me that the pickup truck is down in a septic tank. That kind of just constant. With the when you're big and handling a lot, your exposure to all these crazy situations just goes through the roof. And I just it didn't matter how competent the people I got, to run things that I could. There was always something. And then people start out great and they go downhill, and then next thing you know, they're stealing from you and this and that. So all this profit that you thought you had just went to shit. So people say, oh, it's your lack of training. Well, you could train and train and train and train. You cannot control a person's life. Their personal life can change, and it could seriously affect their business life. Personal life can really, really destroy. I had a secretary. Here's a good example. So this house I had desks everywhere. I had a loft that was wraparound desk up there. I had a guest room that was I had another guest room for actual guests, but I had another guest room in the house. That was wall to wall desk with people working in it. I basically turned a home into quite a busy office, to the point that the neighbors were calling the cops and saying that I was a drug dealer because of the amount of people coming and going from the house, and 12 vehicles in the yard in the afternoon. And then I had a crew of Mexican ladies that would come at like 6 a.m. in the morning, and basically they would make coffee and clean the house and everything while they were waiting for me to wake up to tell them where to go. So anyway, I forgot where I was going with that, but the I guess being that busy isn't the greatest. I forgot where I was going on track with that.
Well, it's just having time for other things in your life. But another point is like obviously for some of the people, especially some people that are watching, it's like they're having the opposite problem. They're starting off and they're not getting any work. So like being obviously you're not a Google guy, but obviously if you have time, one of my suggestions is to hand out flyers, things like that. You have more time than anything else, so that's what the kind of stuff you got to do. What kind of things do you think would be a good idea if like you were looking for work? What's
If I was looking, I mean, I'm not saying I'm not. I do. I control it. I control it well. But if you're just starting up, do everything and anything you can, and build just every avenue that you can try, because what works in one market might not work in 2 blocks away.
true?
Even so, keep trying things that work for that's going to work for you, and pay attention to what you're doing. Not because um, not because big names are doing stuff, which I have mad respect for them. But it might not work for your situation. So it could not. But keep track of what works, what doesn't, and do what works. Um, and and uh, and if you're starting out, just control your profit. Keep a close eye on your actual profitability if you're just starting out.
Right, and then that comes with experience, like you said. You have jobs that you think are going to take so long, and for me, like if I know it's going to take me 2 3 hours, I kind of put it in for 6 hours because most of the time, whether it's something easy or simple, but always a lot of downtime, whether it's waiting for water or filling up the gas tank, just stuff like that.
anything. All kinds of craziness can happen to slow you down from what your target time was. But I guess, um, yeah, you can have a job that's a bigger ticket. Like say a $3,000 job, and you're putting a lot of time, effort, materials. You might have to rent some shit. You might have like all kinds of office time dealing with the quoting of it, the negotiations of it, all this stuff. All that adds up. Time. And when it's all said and done, you could have made more money doing like 2 or 3 little jobs,
Right.
and not even taking that bigger one, and you'd be more profitable.
Right, and that's another thing. I've noticed in the little bit of time I have, it's and that saying, price yourself out of jobs. It's like I'm starting to understand the jobs uh that I want and that are more profitable. And then I'm also learning how. Oh, Keith Kalfas just put a good video out yesterday how to like pre-screen your customers. So if you're getting phone calls, don't just jump to take every job you can get. You can kind of pre-screen these people, give them a
Yeah.
ballpark price, and then
I am very picky as far as the people that I will work for. Not necessarily the job, but the people. I have to now, because I'm not, in a desperate situation. I am not, desperate to pay this and that. I'm, basically almost for the greater part of it bill free, and cash strong. So I'm not desperate. Starting out, and if you're desperate and you have all this stuff to pay for, then you're going to be, stuck in situations that, you might not take if you were a little better off. But I'm very, very picky now, with who I take. If I have a Karen or an asshole or something, I have no problem saying, I'm not the one for you. I will recommend someone to you, but I'm not the one that you need for this job.
Well,
I
okay.
have no
How
problem.
how would you say that nicely to like a Karen or something? How would you say without saying, "Hey, I'm not good for you" or whatever? What would be a good, get out of that one?
Well, I would just I'd be nice and actually kind of honest. I'd be, I don't think that my company is a good fit for your house project or something like that. I read people pretty well after years of, having to read people. It's just a knack you'll start picking up on, knowing, their tells or whatever. But yeah, when you have a Karen or whatever, you can, even though you're there to do the quote, you could be like, oh, I don't think I can do this.
Right.
Whatever it takes to not deal with a jerk once you're not in a desperate situation. But yeah, desperate makes you do crazy things.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And it's a beautiful thing when you start to get to that when you're new, or I guess like for you when you get to that balance of time and work. It's a beautiful thing when you can screen calls on like on an afternoon, maybe sitting on the couch, watching TV or something. And it's a beautiful thing to be able to just have that relaxation talk with customers on the phone where you don't sound like you're desperate and you're able to sift through these people and decide, what, I don't even really want this. So you can, like, when you have that desperation of sell, 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 you almost sound dumb on the phone. That's the people. Yeah, people can pick up on it.
they could read your desperation. They could talk you down faster, easier. Um, you know, a lot of the if you're coming across as desperate and you're asking for a deposit, you could lose jobs just sounding that it's not that your price or it's not the contract or whatever like that. It's not the down payment, but if you sound desperate and you're getting a deposit or down payment or something like that, that could cause people to back out. More affluent people to back out when they read that from you, and you can lose jobs that way just by being just by you might not realize you're coming off as desperate, but clients can sometimes feel that.
Yeah, it's like a vibe. It's a vibe you give off, Just like we can pick up with them with customers that are going to be
Yeah,
just unsatisfactory. Like, they're so hard to please some people. Not all of them. It's just a little bit, and I can kind of get that vibe. And then there's times, Joe, where I go to a job and I'm anxious and I almost feel like I'm not going to get paid. Like, I have that weird, like, this guy's going to rip me off. And then they end up being the best people. So it's like,
yeah,
you never know, I guess, but, it's just funny how that works.
yeah. Back in I'll call it the desperate times where when you have a ton of payroll that has to be met, um, and you got all that bigger overhead that comes with a bigger company. You're put, if you like it or not, you're put in some desperate situations. You got this truck to fix, you got these workers to pay, their families rely on you to pay them. You know, you got a lot of responsibility, and that in turn kind of comes off as desperate. But I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with having a bigger company. It's just not. But yeah, so desperation will make you do crazy shit.
Right. And then that also goes back to like just doing good work and just getting referred by word of mouth, because it's like being when I get them calls saying, "Hey, so and so, you cleaned their roof. That's my cousin," or they referred me. They said you do great work. All the anxiety goes out the door because they already have this. They know
Yeah,
you almost. They trust you, and when they trust you, I don't know. It's just the vibe just is really good, and it's almost
yeah.
like price don't matter. And
They're
that
less likely. They're less likely to recommend you to someone that's gonna. If they're happy with your services, they're less likely to recommend someone to you that's gonna screw you. Usually, it's a quality lead for the most part.
right quality lead. That's yeah. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that like when I first started, I didn't know about this kind of stuff, and I would always be discouraged, and because my phone wasn't ringing, and I would be like, I kept positive, but it was still discouraging, and it's just I don't know. It almost, where I wanted to give up at points, and it's like if you stick through it and you do one job a week, then two jobs a week, you know, when that next year comes around, you're getting referrals plus people wanting you to do their service again. So it's like
Yep,
the gaps slowly start filling, and it's just a beautiful thing, and it's something that
it is.
you
And
know,
then years down the road, you have a base. You have a customer base that you no longer, have to, push to try to get more because you got this great base that you can work with, and build it however you want. But yeah,
so yeah, man. I mean, and then another thing I wanted to bring up, Joe. Obviously, I think I know. Well, there's a couple things I wanted to ask. So, like, in the years that you've been doing this, what do you think's the most? I don't want to just say the craziest thing that's ever happened, but what's like maybe something that you destroyed on a job or did something that messed something up, and something that you recall doing.
well, all right, I'm gonna get to this. So early on, we really didn't have a good resource like the stuff like John Lang has created, and
Right.
some of these nicer groups that don't have a big dick complex. We really did not have an easy time trying to get knowledge from people that were doing it. Everyone kept everything as a closely guarded secret. They weren't sharing shit, and there was pressure washing boards. I don't remember the name of them because I really didn't spend too much time dealing with it. But you ask a question in there, and you were not getting any kind of quality help. If not, you were getting laughed out of the room, and it was seemed real cutthroat, and only the big players would talk to each other. So I remember those days, and I was like, man, shit, it sucks not being able to ask, a simple thing. How would I fix this? Or, I know someone's dealt with this. So I will say that these groups today are good at limiting losses and for helping with education. However, a lot of people need to get the mindset of try to find your own information first and exhaust your own resources before you start taking time of others. But anyway, so that's that. The question was the worst thing I've. Well, I mean, we've screwed up some shit in the past. I've had I've had some losses. Just $10,000 for the front of a house once because there was a carpenter ant problem that didn't show until after the fact, and that was back before soft washing, so that was pressure.
Oh, it just blew it off, like, because there was carpenter ants already.
Oh my God, the whole front of the house just collapsed. It was not good. It was like, I think it was like somewhere between like $6,000 and $10,000 of an issue. Man, we've had machines that have flooded units being too close.
Being too close to what?
Being too close to a door.
Oh yeah.
Where like a bypass line was spraying under the door, and I'm not saying I did this, but it's happened within the company where workers. When you have workers doing stuff, they're not always thinking. So I've had units flood. I've had I've had to do paint jobs, repair. But the absolute craziest, man, I don't have anything one particular thing sticking.
Well, we can it might come to you. We can come back to that. Like one time, one thing it's maybe not a crazy thing that happened, but one thing that I'll always do something before I start washing is I'll take my hand and I'll rub it across their paint, because I had a lady that tried to blame me for having her house oxidized, and if I didn't, because I didn't do the test before, and I didn't know if I caused it or not, but obviously I didn't, and it's just, if you don't do that kind of stuff like that, you're not gonna, you're gonna end up with your pants down, and it's not fun. It's not fun. You got to do pre-job inspections, they call it.
Yep, yeah, that's very important to cover your ass. My early days, it was before when I started, we didn't have the phones on the cameras or the cameras on the phones.
Yeah.
So I carried around this stupid. I forgot the company that even made this little camcorder, and I would document everything with one of these stupid little camcorders, and then just try to take it back to the office, and then have a secretary upload it to wherever the hell they do that, so I could get the information later. But cover an ass was huge. I still do cover my ass. I'm able to have my guard down a little bit more now on the existing clients, because I have such a long relationship with them. They know that I'm not neglectful, or being negligent. But I still will cover my ass with new customers that come on board, and I'll cover my ass well. And then even on the existing customers, if I see anything at all that's a potential problem or what someone can interpret it as a problem, I'm quickly to point it out, document it.
Yeah, it's so important. Like I just was telling, well, I told you. Well, I was talking to you through Facebook the other day about that person's trying to blame me for their roof damage, and luckily I have pictures and videos. I don't think he's going to pursue it, but I have insurance if he does. You know, it's not the end of the world. I don't see how my insurance would agree to pay him for something like that, but because it's been so long. But I have pictures and videos of the roof before and after, and you know, I didn't cause the damage. You know what I'm saying? It's just it's good to have.
I see the pre-existing damage in a lot of your videos that you do, actually, where from the past years where people have been up there, breaking tile, walking on them wrong.
Right.
That's. I see it in your videos all the time.
Right, and then even before I start spraying, though, I do a video walk around, and I'll just video, like I won't even, I'll just say the date and time, and I just video, take my video camera and do a slow walk around, and then use it for before and after. So it's just, people are mean sometimes. People are evil, and
they are. They will take advantage of any situation they can.
And I think with us spraying water as our job, I think a lot. And also, here's another thing, Joe. I think a lot of people think of us as like, that picture out front of Lowe's with the guy with this pressure washer strapped to the roof and on the trunk of his car or whatever. I feel like when people look up pressure washers, that's what they're imaging in their head. Like they're like, oh, I'll call this knucklehead. Some people, not all of them. So
when I started off, I pretty much like when in the very early days, I was looking like that, and then through the build up, I did have a newer truck, but after losing having that company die, because it's the death of an entity. After that, I did go for a little period of time where I was looking, not too far from that guy, and but I was able to, make good money because I did have a base that came from the other company that was loyal to me.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, we have a question. Ace, I know there's more questions, but one I just popped up from this.
I can't see any questions, anything. All I see is you.
Yeah, so Ace from 305 said, Joe, during over the years of cleaning, what's the best cleaning solution you like working with?
It's all tools in a toolbox.
Yeah.
Is he talking about basically a surfactant?
I guess, yeah, a cleaning solution. Yeah, so like maybe a chemical that you like.
So I was pretty anti, new products for the longest time. I mean, for a long time, because early on, I realized I was losing a lot of money due to, the promises of the snake oil.
Right.
Everyone had this, everyone had that, and it was just, I basically ended up with a garage with thousands of dollars of inventory of shit that I never used anymore. And I was like, you know what, I'll just stick with some basic shit. And I did that for a while, but then started noticing, people being happy with some of the, I'm calling them newer products, but they've been around for years now, but they're still new to me as far as time frame goes. But you know what? Surfactant is really surfactant. If you like it, use it. Try a couple different things. I'm no longer anti new products. They've come a long way, especially with the push of soft washing. That stuff has really come along. I could use pretty much any of them really.
All spray said 20% chlorine.
Yeah, 20%
Yeah, that's so funny. But yeah,
Um,
no, I know what you mean, Joe. And obviously, I haven't been around forever, but you see all these guys pushing products, and obviously, most of them do a lot of the same stuff. But like there's one, for instance, that I just recently started using that was always been hyped up. EBC. It is a good product. I just
yeah, it's been around a while.
and I just was like, oh, I would use Red Raider, and Red Raider is a good product too. And it's I just found myself being more towards Red Raider. But EBC is a good product. They all have their own. And Agent Halt, that's another one. Agent.
I like the agent line of products. I am pretty happy with it. As far as surfactant goes, I mean, if it makes a surface wetter and it sticks to a wall or sticks to a roof and rinses easy, I like it.
Yeah.
I could I could go on and on about different you know old ways of doing it, but those days are over, so it doesn't even matter now.
Right, and then and this goes back to, I think, when you're new, and I was this way. I'm kind of like an experimenting guy. Like I like to mix my own stuff up, and like for instance, like for degreaser, I just mix raw hydroxide in with water, and but as you go and you notice when you're booking these jobs, and you don't want to be playing around with that kind of stuff. Sometimes you just want to go ahead
Don't
and buy it.
yeah, don't do it. Don't be chemists. Those days are over. Try some of the new products. Find one that works. Not only something that you can afford. What you can afford now might not might be different what you can afford next year. So try what you can afford, and I'm not saying buy the most expensive, but when you can get away from the dollar store soap, you'll be a little bit farther ahead of the game. I'll be honest. I'll still sometimes for some
In a pinch.
super super low, where I can see where a cheap ass soap can work. Uh, I still don't have a problem using it as a tool in the toolbox. You'll always hear me say tools in the toolbox. It's all tools in the toolbox. You might have, one surfactant that you like on walls and one for roofs, whatever. Use what works for you. There is no cookie cutter way of doing shit.
Yep.
Don't be a chemist. I mean, those days are over. And when you end up with a 5-gallon bucket that is like a flaming hot lava, you'll be like, okay, I'm done with this shit. You can make a flaming hot lava or put a gel through your equipment that you cannot get out of the line. I mean, there's some shit you can mix and it will gel up, heat up, and you look back and your whole rig's melted. Everything that can't handle heat is melted. So,
and
yeah.
And that's with chemicals, and like the same thing with I don't know if you ever done this, but you ever go to like Lowe's and try to piece together stuff, and it's like, man, I would have just saved more money just buying the damn thing offline. It's crazy.
Yeah, a lot of the new guys, they all go through that phase of, oh, I can get it at the local hardware store, this and that. But, that local hardware store, that's for homeowner shit. The people that pull out their pressure washer once every other year, maybe, or something like that. It's not made for what we put equipment through. In my early days, I bought a pressure line from Home Depot or Lowe's. It had like a clear plastic sleeve over some like gold braiding or something.
Yeah.
And I was doing a job, and I felt the line get heavy, and I looked back as that whole line, I think it was 50 foot, turned into like this gigantic water sausage, and it expanded. and I'm like, oh shit! It looked like a gigantic,
Sausage links.
Like, the sausage link, but huge. I mean, it was like it got really big, and then it blew, and it was like a tidal wave that came off the third floor of this walkway. Uh, but get industrial shit. Don't go to the home improvement section. unless you really are forced into that situation.
Right, if you're in a pinch and stuff like that. And the truth of the matter is half the time they ain't gonna have what you need. It's not good enough. It's not gonna last. And
Yeah.
there's people, like Lori Smith and where I'm from, in Florida, yeah, she'll have stuff to you in like 2 days. So it's like you might as well just get the good stuff. It's not even more expensive doing it that way. So
No, it actually is cheaper in the long run.
absolutely.
I'll use the. I know a lot of people have had a great success with the general surface scrubbers, that plastic housing one.
The
Um,
yeah, what is that called?
I think it's general. It was a while ago that this one. It was before the grease fittings came out, but so like back then using those, they were cheaper than the Whisper Wash, but they were more money to repair because you couldn't have a kit to fix just what went wrong. You had to buy the whole swivel, uh, the whole apparatus, and and that was pricey for that. So you spent, like, when you're dealing with a lot of flat work, and you end up with repairs, and especially if you have workers that are hitting rocks, boulders, lifted corners, curbs, stuff like that, and busting the swivels and bearings and shit. But those things went out pretty quick. I think I was going every 6-7 months. We were having to get new swivels, so it ended up costing more money to get the cheaper surface scrubber than it did if I just bought the Whisper Wash right from the get go.
Right, because you could just
So,
they have them cartridges. You just pop the new cartridge in and you're rocking.
yeah, or the fix kits, and you could just replace what's needed, or. So when you're buying something that's that your income is gonna rely upon, get the best you can, um, and start asking, what is this gonna cost me? Not today. What is this gonna cost me down the line?
Right.
And then make your decision on your product that you buy that way, and you'll be a little more profitable over the course of time.
Yeah. What was it? Is it the BE rollaway you were talking about? I think that's Sterling.
No, it was before BE. It was man, I think it was just called General.
Yeah, it was
It
the
was
General Pump
gray.
Hammerhead.
I think something like that.
Yeah, the Hammerhead. Yep.
And it was prior to the grease fitting one.
Yeah, I think I know. There. It looks like a Whisper Wash, but it's like a black housing. The black housing.
Yeah.
So.
That was a lot. It was a few $100s cheaper than a Whisper Wash, but man, it was costing probably each one was costing like $600 a year just in maintenance and repairs on it. And then the Whisper Wash, we switched to Whisper Wash, and that.
What are you running? What are you running? A classic or a big guy?
We're running the 20 or 20. I can't remember, 20 or 22 inch.
Is it the yellow one?
No, it's the black one, classic.
Maybe it's
No, it's the black one. I'm sorry. Yeah, the black one.
24 inches, maybe.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah, because I'm thinking about getting another one because I got another a washer I'm putting together, and I'm thinking about just getting another classic instead of getting the big guy because the big guy, I don't know, I think it just doesn't seem like it maneuvers as good because it's got the wheels.
The big guy would be good if you got the ass behind it. Some people, it's kind of like. I guess here's an example. The say a Whisper Wash that needs 4 gallons a minute and at least somewhere close to 4,000 psi to operate correctly. You got to have at least 4 gallons a minute to operate correctly. Then you go to like a big guy, and it says you need 8 gallons a minute to operate correctly. However, on that smaller Whisper Wash, if you're running 8 gallons a minute instead of the 4 gallons a minute, that fucker's cruising. So you've doubled what the minimum you need is for that. So if you get the big guy, you don't want just the 8 ounce, even though it will work. You're at the bottom end of pretty much what's needed to run.
Right, you're at the minimum.
Yeah, so you don't want to. Anytime you can get out of being the minimum, get out of it. So if you have to join machines or whatever, and throw 16 gallons a minute through that big guy, then yeah, go get it. Or don't use those exact numbers, but you know what I'm saying.
I know what you mean.
It could be less efficient to have a bigger one because you'll be going slower.
Right.
Is basically what I'm trying to make a point of.
Yeah, there's I think the biggest I've heard that you should go with the 8. I mean, like you said, the 28 works, and obviously a 30-inch will probably work. But the biggest I heard to go is like the 24-inch. But for me, I like the whisper wash. I like to be able to run around with it if I need to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but it is all tools in a toolbox. If you have, I have some big concrete parking lots that are supposed to be coming up back up on schedule here soon. With those, you're gonna want a bigger scrubber or something like that. Now, in the past, we may do with I'd get out there with four scrubbers and a bunch of people and just go and go and go. But this next go round, I'm gonna go bigger, less people, bigger equipment, and then get more ass into it.
Get like a 10 gallon per minute or what, a 12 maybe?
No, I'll merge my 8s and throw 16 gallons a minute through one.
Yeah, that's what I'm excited for, man. I got that Siamese kit from Russ, and when I put that second 8 on, I'm excited just to hold that thing. 16 gallons.
I'll never forget my face when I went from 4 gallons a minute to 8 gallons.
Yep.
That was I couldn't believe I didn't do that sooner.
Yeah. Even it's funny when I used to downstream with my 4 gallon per minute with the downstreamer on, you could barely notice the difference. But now with an 8 gallon per minute, when that downstream's on and you don't have a bypass, you can notice a difference. So it's like bypass. I didn't really realize the point of a bypass injector bypass until you get the 8. When you get the 8, you need that injector bypass because it's huge difference.
It's night and day difference. I'm actually I'm realizing it's been a while since I've downstreamed. I got a little bit different of a process that I'm relying on the soft washing system.
Yeah, you got that. What do you call it? That gas.
Yeah, gas diaphragm.
What is it? What kind of pump is it?
It's AR-45, and I forgot the three letter initials after. It's like L something.
Right. But yeah,
it goes down. It goes down often, but I'll say it goes down like once every 6 months, which I'm fine with.
Yeah.
But I got a little hack that I just recently did, and I'm gonna see if I can extend that repair time out. But I enjoy it, and I'm very happy. I am different. I'm happy with the patch mix, and I have enough locations that I can utilize, and then utilize a big patch, and then most of the time the stuff's big enough that we could go through a whole tank. And then I give a lot of chlorine away. I give a lot of mix away, just to get rid of it because I'm weird.
Well, when you pre-mix it like that, it's it'd be cool if you can get some kind of proportioning system on that.
Yeah, there's a guy that's making them. I was watching at the Orlando convention. I was watching that machine in action.
Was it Marco? Was it the guy Marco Yamada or Ramanda?
I can't remember his name. He was kind of a thin, taller guy with black hair.
Yeah, from Texas?
No idea.
Either way.
He had a batch mix system, or he had he had a gas diaphragm system that had some extra buttons that you push that mix a batch and then pump out of that batch. Just what you needed. I thought it was a pretty good setup. I did notice that when they were testing it, I caught on to that. They were having to jack the pressure up when people were testing it to get us 2 stories. So that I don't. I know that they've been redesigning that. I won't speak anymore on that.
Yeah.
I think it's a great concept, and if they have it working well and testing well, I think that's a good system.
All right. Well, I think that's we've been going for an hour, Joe. I don't want to hold you all night, man. So we'll wrap this up, man. So I guess if you wanted to redo anything or what would you call that? Do things differently if you had the chance, would you, or would it just be staying small? I guess 1 person, 2 people.
I'm thankful for my I'm thankful for my backstory. I guess it is. I'm thankful I got to experience what I don't want. What I would do differently, man, that's a hard one. There's a series of things that I would probably do a little differently, but I'm pretty happy with the outcome where it is today. So I don't know how much of that I would adjust.
Right.
I'm glad I found what I don't like.
Yeah, it's kind of that's kind of a dumb question when you think about it. It's like everything we do gets us where we are, but
yeah.
But anyway, Joe, I appreciate you coming on, man. Sorry about the technical difficulties for everybody. But yeah, man, I really appreciate you coming on, and
no problem, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and you gave us a lot of knowledge. And that's it. I mean, So yeah, man. So I'll probably be doing this more often, having more people come on. So yeah, man, this is the first episode, so I appreciate you coming aboard, dude. All right.
Pioneer. All right, man. You have a great night.
Hey, Joe, I'll be talking to you, man. Have a good night, brother. Take care, everybody. See you.
All right. Bye-bye.
In stream.